Hey guys, this is Pena, and this was my unit plan for the Cold War. I teach world history for 9th graders at Norcross High School. So to start off with, my students had 3 weeks to complete a series of mini projects that allowed them to get 50 years of history in a very concise amount of time, but still let them actually explore stuff and get to know way more beyond the standards. I also use the opportunity to try to introduce them to a couple of technologies that aren't that fancy but can make their educational and personal lives a lot easier as far as getting organized and being able to present things. Standard-wise, you can see here is very to the point. I kind of subsidize them a lot just for this presentation, but I really wanted them to be able to improve their communication and collaboration skills. As all of us do, I try to improve their critical thinking, problem solving, and decision making. And with the mini project that I did assign them, it was a lot of creative and innovation. They had to come up with a lot of original things. And their research was very well organized. I kind of gave them some freedom with that, as you'll see in a little bit, but they kind of came to it at the end. In Gwinnett County, we don't use Common Core GPS. We use what we call the AKS, which is just our fancy way of rewriting everything just to make it our own. The entire project focusing on one main AKS, which was to be able to analyze the global, social, economic, and political impact of the Cold War. There's a lot of substance to go with that, but that's a very good summary of what it actually did. Here, the project, although it was made up of many projects, as you can see, and different activities we did with the Cold War, was basically a portfolio. And so here's the things they were required to turn in. This does not include their presentations, per se, because some of them, especially the video ones, cannot be printed out or added to the portfolio, but you can see that you can include the script and the video URL to the things that were supposed to be recorded. If it was a PowerPoint presentation or a presentation, they could print it out for me. You can see that there was a wide range of things that they were allowed to do. They were all required, but you'll see later how I differentiated for them so they wouldn't feel as pressured. For their research, I allowed them to use Cornell notes. If you don't know what those are side-by-side notes that are pretty cool. I'm going to show you guys those later. As far as equitable access to technology, my students had access to the computer lab or a laptop cart almost every day. When we get to the calendar, you'll see there's a couple days that are out of order, and they were there because I couldn't get computers that day. I also brought my own devices for them. I have my laptop, and then I have 4 classroom tablets that I had donated to my classroom that my students could easily access at any time. My students also brought their own devices. I have about an 80% rate of kids who bring their own device on a regular basis, so that facilitated a lot of things. Here, so you can see here, Cold War Unit Project Rubric. Since this was a horizontal project with my content area group, I had to use our project rubric, which is very generic, as you can see. And so what I did is I used this rubric for every mini project. So the 5 mini projects they did, they got graded on the same rubric. The kids are familiar with it. We've used it for pretty much every project. We just kind of tweaked the wording a little bit in the title, depending on what we're actually doing. It's very to the point. The kids know that, you know, if you get all 3s, we'll work with you to try to get you a B or an A because you're meeting the standard. But we're really shooting for you to kind of push the limits and try to shoot for all 4s and really earn the 100. Not many kids do. You know, I don't know your own personal feelings about it, but you know, we kind of feel that you have to earn that 100 at Norcross. You can't just get it because you're there. Down here, the learning targets, some of them are being blocked off by this, which is annoying, but so be it. We're big on saying that we will be able to, because we believe that we're the first learners in our classrooms. You can see the learning targets relate directly to what they were supposed to turn in. That way they knew they had a product to do, or they had to, physically take notes. They're very easy learning targets that relate directly to what they're doing. Here we have a day-by-day calendar. They had this in their handout. And as you can see here, it says recommended. Some of the activities do seem a little rushed, I know. But especially day 7 and 8, 9 and 10, those mini projects were very small, and most of them finished them in a day each, so they gave them more time on the bigger projects, which is, the third week. And many of the kids, especially if they brought their own devices, kind of knocked out day 6 as day 3, so they could get all their notes done ahead of time, so they could just do their research and jump right into the projects. Partner-wise, I let them. This was my honors gifted class. I let them pick their own partners. They're pretty good about that. I'll move on to tell you more about that. Differentiation piece. I did allow the students individually to pick which of the main projects, which was either the newscast or the letter written, to be the summative assessment. They got graded on everything, but only one of the projects counted as the actual test. They were able to pick that. Students were also able to pick their own partner. We've done a lot of activities in class prior to this, like the 6 thinking hat activities that kind of made them push themselves outside of their comfort zone of how they think. And so the whole purpose of partners was to have someone to kind of double check you, make sure that you're explaining things to the general audience, not just to yourself. And these kids do a pretty good job of that without needing me to guide them too much. Communication-wise, all of my kids have Gmail accounts. I don't know if that's on purpose or not, but it worked out great. So we used email. Some of them like to include me in their Google Hangouts. That way I can kind of guide them via video. And a lot of them use some text messaging services that are easily traceable, like Remind now has a direct message feature. We used that a little bit towards the end when that came out. And it really facilitated our communication with each other. Here, the technology used by my students. As you can see, the parents in this particular, these 2 classes were kind of picky. I usually don't ask. I know that's pretty unethical, but I usually will just post without names. But I just happened to ask because we just did the ethics course, and they said, and all the parents did not want me to share their stuff with you guys, so sorry about that. Just know they were awesome. I wish I could show you guys. Some of the kids really went all out. I actually had one kid earn 100, which is surprising because the rubric wouldn't show it, but I am pretty picky about it, and he went all out and he did it. I'm sorry I couldn't do it. But the 3 major technologies I introduced him to were how to actually use YouTube creatively and properly, not just for random videos to make you laugh. We went over Digo in class and organizing. I've used it since then, and it's awesome. And then iMovie. A lot of my kids use apps to make little mini movies, or they're in the Vine where they make 6-second videos of themselves. They were really into the iMovie part of the project. They really like the fact that, all you need if you have a Mac is just the app, or even like an iPhone, and you can make a movie right there. It's pretty high quality. We go to these. For one of the mini projects, I made them go to Crash Course, which is a inappropriate channel. They do use some cursing. I did have to get some parent permission for them to do that, but the parents are okay with it. But Crash Course is it's 2 brothers that expand on educational topics in a very kind of social, nerdy way, and they make it cool, and they have a lot of, infographics and visual effects and pictures and facts. If you want to go check it out, the link's on this presentation. Just click on it. It's pretty cool. So their newscast had to be based on a crash course, and they did it. Some of them kind of crashed and burned with it as far as presentation. They weren't really presenters, but they tried their best. You know, just a refresher. I know we went over this in class. I'm very well aware. Here it is. I've deleted all of mine so you guys wouldn't see them, but this was my grocery list for around the time of the project. It's a pretty cool site. You can add stuff, move it around. It also lets you annotate. There's apps on the App Store and on Google Play. The kids really enjoyed it. Only one kid, I think, had a Windows phone, and it kind of messed him up, but it was okay. And then finally, iMovie. If you've never used iMovie, I recommend going and check it out. If you don't have an iPhone or an iPad or a Mac product, very hard to use, obviously, but it's extremely simple. It lets you edit stuff very professionally, but with the ease of an Apple product. Kids loved it. Only probably knew a 5-minute video. Most of them did it longer just because it was there.